Today is the 75th year, January 30th, when Gandhi was murdered just outside his home where he was staying. The killer's name is Godse. Godse is popular in India today. He was member of RSS, and RSS controls the government as well as the streets in India. I don't think he controls the heart of Indians. But I visited Amazon.com in US as well as in India, Amazon.in. And I was surprised to see that Why I Killed Gandhi, his statement is selling as a book like hotcake. And people are commenting. In the US, I saw most of the comment of people with Indian sounding name based in the United States appreciating him. Actually, one of the statement, I don't know why this type of a statement of appreciating murder and saying murder was right is allowed by Amazon. And I thought, well, they are in US. Visited the site in India, Amazon, and again similar type of thousands of comments. Today, we'd like to discuss Gandhi with his grandson, Dr. Arun Gandhi. Welcome to Muslim Network TV.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show. And before I answer your questions, I'd like to convey my heartfelt sympathies to all the Muslims for the bombing in Pakistan, which killed 60 people and injured 160 people in a mosque, which is very tragic that even a place of worship is not sacrosanct anymore, and people commit all these violent acts in these places.
Mm.
So please accept my sympathies and
Thank you. Thank you
convey my
so much.
sympathies to everybody.
Our sympathies also is the tragic, violent ways people adopt. Dr. Arun Gandhi is an author and a scholar and a truth teller. I remember when in Rochester he has to leave the university because he spoke the truth about Israel and what is happening to Palestinian and recommended them to Palestinian parliament later on that maybe they got to take 50,000 refugees and try marching, taking them back. So, Arunji, you spent some time with your grandfather. Tell us what he was like.
He was a very loving grandfather, and he was very approachable. He was very simple and humble person. Anybody could approach him at any time and talk to him or get his advice. Um, and I remember many lessons that he taught me during that time. I was just, 12 when I went to him. I lived for 2 years. And some of those lessons at that time didn't make a lot of sense to me. But as I grew up and began to ponder over them, I realized how life changing those experiences were. And I would like to share two of them, which I think are the most important lessons that we learn. One has to deal with anger. I grew up in South Africa and suffered a lot of the prejudices there, and was beaten up by whites and by blacks because they didn't like the color of my skin. And it filled me with a lot of rage, and I wanted to get revenge. I wanted to fight back again. That was, the normal thing for people to do. But that's when my parents realized that, this was affecting me very badly. And so they decided to take me to India and leave me with grandfather for 2 years so I could learn something from him. And the first lesson that he taught me was about anger. He said, anger is like electricity. It's just as useful and just as powerful, but only if we use it intelligently. But it can be just as deadly and destructive if we abuse it. So, just as we channel electrical energy and bring it into our lives and use it for the good of humanity, we must learn to channel anger in the same way so that we can use that energy for the good of humanity rather than abuse it and cause death and destruction. And he taught me ways in which I could do that by getting control over my mind, not letting the mind go astray when you get angry. Today, we don't have any control over the mind, and so when we get angry, we just flash, react with flash responses, and often they are negative responses and they cause conflict and violence. So we've got to learn to control our minds and be able to channel that energy effectively to do this. So it was a very simple exercise that he made me do. Sit quietly in a room for a few minutes and hold in front of me something that gave me pleasure to look at. It could be a flower or it could be a photograph or whatever. Just hold that in front of me for 1 minute, concentrate all my energy on that object, and then close your eyes and see how long you can keep that image in your mind. In the beginning, I found that the moment I closed my eyes, the image vanished. But then, when I began to do this exercise regularly every day, I realized that I could keep that image longer and longer in my mind, and to that extent, my mind was coming under my control. And that helped me a lot in dealing with anger, being able to channel that energy into positive action rather than abuse it and cause death and destruction. And I think that is something that we need to teach everybody. Much of the violence today that we see everywhere is generated by anger. People get angry and they lose respect for their own lives and do all kinds of things that are so shocking today.
So let's talk about Gandhi today. God's book on Amazon, Why Kill Gandhi. I was surprised that it has more than 3,800 comments over entire India, Amazon, and that also similarly has slightly more. And many of those comments, I quote one person says, a top comment for someone in the US actually, Godse was a true patriot, not a villain. And then justifying that I agree with him why he killed Gandhi. I mean, people agreeing to murder of someone is one thing, and here they're talking about murdering father of a nation.
Yeah, that's what happens when you become a fanatic. And the Hindus were very fanatical, especially the RSS and they've been very clever in having several layers of uh, political activists. So now they call themselves the BJP, which is basically the RSS, but just another name for it. Um, and so they get away with it by saying that, well, we are not connected with the RSS, but the RSS are doing this, and we can't stop them, which is a lie. They all believe in the same philosophy, and it's very sad. And the saddest part of it is that although they have made this out as a assassination because grandfather was very um, lenient towards Muslims and was giving Muslims what rights they had incurred by the partition. That was not really the case. The real reason why they assassinated him was because he had said that after the independence, he wanted to abolish the caste system. He was going to take steps to abolish the caste system. And 98% of the politicians and the bureaucrats who inherited the government from the British were from the upper two castes, the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. And they didn't want their status to be diluted. And so they felt that a martyred Gandhi is better than a living Gandhi because he would have made hell for them. And so they just turned their eyes away when these people conspired to kill him. So that is the real story behind it. But both the government and the RSS are hiding behind the Muslim issue.
Your son also has said that the great grandson of Gandhi, that Brahmins were involved in killing him. Of course, Godse probably was himself a Brahmin, and RSS leadership is Brahmin. Do you think there were other reasons other than they felt threatened by Gandhi that their monopoly on caste control will be diminished?
Yes, I think it was a combination of several things, and but basically it was the caste system because almost the entire RSS and BJP is made up of the high caste people, and they just didn't want their position to be diluted or lessened. And of course, the Brahmins generally supported the idea uh, because their control over religion was strong and they just wanted to keep it that way. But if the whole situation was changed, then they wouldn't have that same control over religion.
Is it on record that Gandhi said that caste system should be eliminated after independence?
Yeah, he was very determined to get the caste system eliminated. In fact, he made a statement. He said he named the low caste people Harijans, which means the children of God. And he said that they have earned the right to be called the children of God because of all the suffering we have made them suffer. All the suffering that they've undergone for centuries. But the rest of the Hindu uh, community will also earn the right to be called Harijans when they atone for the suffering that they caused to these people. So he was looking at two things. He wanted the upper Hindu caste people to apologize for all the suffering and discrimination that they made these people undergo, and then atone for it so that then the entire Hindu community would be known as Harijans and not defined by the castes.
Share with us, Sarunji, that you are following the path of Gandhi, and your son has spoken. Do you think this campaign uh, on the sort of on the line of Satyagraha, in which Rahul Gandhi has walked from one corner to the other corner of India, Do you think it gives you some hope? For the audience, Rahul Gandhi has no connection with the great Gandhi leader, but is named after another person like that. So, do you think there is some hope of bringing Indians together against the killers of Gandhi, who seems to be controlling and winning election after elections?
Well, we have to live with hope, otherwise, life would become intolerable. So we always hope that something good will come out of things, and I'm hoping that something good will come out, and people in India will understand and realize that this kind of fragmentation that is taking place at the moment is not what civilization is about. Civilization is about becoming uh, one and living in harmony. We talk about peace, and yet when we ask people, they don't really know what peace means. They think peace is the absence of war. As long as we are not fighting a war with anybody, we are living in peace. But that's not true, because we are committing violence in many different ways, in physical ways as well as what my grandfather called passive ways. And the passive violence is the kind of violence where we hurt people without using any physical force. The way I look at you, or the way I discriminate against you, or the way we treat each other, and there are thousands of ways in which we hurt people. Even things like wasting food, for instance. Like in the United States, I read in the New York Times that we throw away $60 billion worth of food every year, goes into the garbage. And yet, people here in the United States often go hungry to bed because they don't have food. So, that is a form of violence too. So, these are things that we do because it's become so much a part of our nature, a part of our culture, a part of society itself, because the affluent people can afford to waste things and over consuming things. They just, mindlessly throw things away. They have no concern for the poor or for the destitute. And when we do have concern, we just, uh, feed them something and tide them over for a day. But we don't do anything constructive to get them out of poverty forever and become contributing citizens. That requires a lot of compassion. Now today we do charity, but it's motivated by pity, whereas we should be doing charity that is motivated by compassion. And the distinction that grandfather made here is, when we see a hungry person, we feel pity for that person and we give them some money or give them some food and just walk away and think that we have done our good deed for the day. But instead, we have made them more dependent on charity and oppress them more that way. But if we are motivated by compassion, then we would stop to look at, why is this person incapable of taking care of himself or herself, and what can we do to help them realize their potential and make it possible for them to stand on their own feet. That requires a lot more commitment, and that we are not willing to give because we are so busy with ourselves and our own thing that we don't want to waste time with losers.
Well,
And that is the whole attitude that we have everywhere in the world. And all of these things add up to the unpleasant situation that we face today.
well, thank you so much, Dr. Arun Gandhi. Dr. Arun Gandhi is an author, a scholar, and a truth teller, and a grandson of another truth teller, Gandhi. And today is the 75th anniversary when he was murdered by telling the truth by someone whose party RSS BJP control India, controls media, and controls streets where people are lynched and beaten up if they are not members of the high caste. Thank you so much, Dr. Arun Gandhi.
Thank you very much. It was nice talking with you, and I hope that I've enlightened the audience a little bit.